Manal is the first Arab veiled model to appear in the Nike Middle East campaign. She is a pharmacist, fitness instructor, scuba diver, cyclist, mountain climber, marathon runner, and above all, an inspiring woman. Founder of the online community Surviving Hijab, she strives to change the mentality of people around the world on how they perceive Arab women. Manal, please welcome to the stage.
So I'm going to start out with my mountaineering experience because that's what sort of like catches people and throws them off. As a girl who grew up in the desert, actually I was born and raised in Kuwait. And for someone who has had no experience on ice whatsoever, it comes off as a bit odd. So I'm going to do like a small throwback and take you back in time. Just about 10 years ago, I had just turned 29. So I'm 39 now, but I had just turned 29, and you know when you turn into like your final year of being 20-something, it feels like, oh my God, like what have I done with my life? And as an Arab girl who grew up in a Western society in an international school, you know, third culture kid, completely messed up in the head in terms of like who am I and, you know, identity crisis. I just felt like I was a bit raped of my right to live. And I kind of felt like I had checked off all of society's boxes except my own. I went to an international school. I did, you know, master's degree in clinical pharmacy because my parents wanted me to. And, you know, I got a role as a pharmacist in a multinational company. But have I actually chased my goals? No. Why? Because most of the time when I would go up to my dad and say, you know, I just found out that there's this Egyptian mountaineer. His name is Omar Samra. I didn't even know the Egyptians climbed mountains. And he's just climbed Everest. And my dad is like, sorry, Dad. My dad would be like, look, you're allowed to watch him on television. You're allowed to follow him on social media. You will not climb mountains. And I'm like, but why not? And at the top of his head, I think, because I also think my dad was blinded by society's expectations and what society expects of us as Arab women. What will people say? That's one. Sorry, Dad. Number two, he would say, you know, like, you're Arabic, who's gonna marry you? I am still single, but I have hope to find, you know, meet someone who sees me for who I am. But who marries a girl who wants to climb mountains? Where is the man, though? Anyway, so I put that thought to sleep because I was sort of like, I didn't want to upset him. And I would be like, well, so how can I just climb this mountain? He'd be like, watch it on television. You know, just follow him. And I did follow Omar Samra, and I did basically stalk him. But this didn't last for long. In 2012, I moved to Dubai with work after years and years of trying to convince my dad that it was okay for a 32-year-old woman to move out and live on her own. So bless you, Dad, for letting me do that. So I moved to Dubai with my pharmaceutical company then. And I have this sort of resolutionary thing, like every morning of every new year, I go on a run. And just, you know, to clear my head and make new resolutions. And at the back of my head, I wanted so badly to climb Kilimanjaro as my first mountain. And this is not a joke, and I'm not making this up. But as I was going around the marina in Dubai, around my house, and these two African women come up to me. I don't normally stop when I'm running. And they wanted to give me a piece of paper. And I said, guys, like, are you okay? Do you need help? And they're like, this is our number. Please call us if you need help, you know, to clean the house. I was like, okay, sure. So I took a look at the paper. I was like, thank you so much. And the first thing that the paper read was Hotel Kilimanjaro. So I thought, you know what? The universe is telling me something. The universe is telling me you need to stand up for your right to climb Kilimanjaro. So I put a small plan together, called my dad, who still lives in Kuwait, called him in Kuwait. I was like, Dad, I'm climbing Kilimanjaro in 2012. He's like, first of all, where's Kilimanjaro? I was like, it's in Tanzania. He's like, that's Africa. They eat people there. You said that. You said that. So even though I'm African, but he said, there are cannibals in Africa. I was like, Dad, it's the 21st century. There are no cannibals in Africa. So I know it was just like a myth, and it was sort of like something to throw me off or like, you know, frighten me. But I realized something, and I hope for every little girl in the room to take this to heart. Please have open conversations with your Arab parents. Have open conversations with them, as in where are you going, how safe it is, because unfortunately they are raised in a different generation that might not be okay with us climbing mountains. Not because mountains are a bad thing, but it's just that they're not sort of used to that notion. 2012, I climbed Kilimanjaro. I managed to convert my dad's mentality from an Egyptian man who was completely against me climbing mountains to now, like 6 years later, he hopes for me to become the first Egyptian woman to climb Everest. Thank you. So 2013, I went off and I climbed Mount Kenya, the second highest in Africa. 2015, I climbed Mount Elbrus in Russia, the highest in Europe. In 2016, I was sponsored by Omar Samar himself, you know, my icon of inspiration, to lead a team of 10 people to Everest Base Camp. And to my surprise, my dad was very, very proud of me. He would share every single update on his Facebook. And for me to have come this long way and to see my updates being shared on my dad's Facebook, that was a great accomplishment for me. Last but not least, in 2018, just a couple months back, I became the first Egyptian woman to summit Mont Blanc, which is the highest in Les Alpes, or the Alps, range of mountains in France. And again, 100% supported by my father. So thank you, Baba. And moving on. So that's my mountaineering experience. And with Mustafa being here, we hope to do this whole Everest thing together. Now, my story starts to become a little bit more interesting when I shift you from mountaineering to my hijab struggle. So, like I said earlier, I grew up in a Western society. I actually hated the hijab. I hated women who wore it for many reasons. So, for example, in my international school, I would see Arab women being perceived as, you know, oppressed, suppressed. They're probably, you know, dressed all in black. They do not have access to languages or education, and I didn't want to be that woman. I didn't want to be that Arab woman who's portrayed like that to the world. So in my small head, you know, growing into my teens, I actually hated it until I had an accident that sort of turned my life around. In 1999, when I was 19 years old, 5 minutes before the accident, I asked my cousin to swap seats with me. We were on a bus from Cairo to the Red Sea. Unfortunately, the bus tripped. Muhammad, Allah yarhamu, passed away, and I survived. And we don't understand why, to this day, why I wanted to swap seats. My dad was also in the car. He broke 6 ribs and a shoulder bone. Alhamdulillah, he's okay now, and nothing happened to me. And for me, that was sort of like a life-changing moment, because I wanted to say thank you to God for giving me a second chance in life, and a second chance in life injury-free as an athlete who was hardcore into athletics from a very, very young age. 13 years later, when I was 34 years old, I was struggling massively in Dubai with my hijab. I was denied access to some posh hotels or places that actually find the hijab not cool enough for women to go there. And unfortunately, this doesn't only happen in Dubai, and I'm very outspoken about this. It also happens in places in Egypt. I fight it as hard as I can, and we've all heard, of course, of the burkini bans like in Paris, but sadly, in our Arab societies, this still exists. So I went to my dad and I said I wanted to take off my hijab. Guess what he said? Go for it. If that's what's gonna make you happy, then remove your hijab. But then I felt so small and so weak, and I felt like society was going to dominate my identity. So we've reached a point where, you know, just because society doesn't think it's okay for me to go about and do something, then I should go off and just comply to society's expectations. So I decided to form a platform that was going to be very welcoming for women who do wear hijab, yet find it a struggle, and where there are some taboo issues about, for example, today I think I'm having a good hijab day, meaning that my hijab matches my outfit and it doesn't make my face look so fast. Other days, sometimes I feel that my hijab doesn't really match everything and I'm not having a good hijab day. So just like some girls go off and say, I'm having a good hair day, we can also go off and say, I'm not having a good hijab day. So my social media platform exploded from 80 women that I added by hand. And by the way, I was so, not sort of embarrassed to talk about it, but I was kind of like scared of people's judgment. What will people say again of the 34-year-old woman who's gone off to found a group that is inclusive of Arab women or international women who want to cover? The group exploded from 80 women that I added by hand. We became 40,000 women in November 2014. So that was about 4 years ago. TV stations started to contact me. What's your mission? What's your vision? What's your objective? What are you trying to achieve? And I was like, look, guys, like I'm a completely chilled, girl next door who just wants to empower women. But then I got a spark of an idea. What change did I want to bring to the world in terms of athletics and hijab? And the first brand that came to mind was Nike. As a person and as an athlete who grew up with the brand, hardcore, I had never seen somebody who looks like me in international campaigns. I mean, don't get me wrong, but a girl wearing hot shorts with an exercise bra, with her hair in a ponytail, looks amazing, but she does not look like me. She does not represent me. I probably looked like that, when I was 13 years old and I was running around in high school. But nowadays, I had never seen someone who wore the hijab and still represented on a global platform. So I thought of the 6 degrees of separation, and you must know someone who knows someone that can connect you to Nike. But what is Nike? Is it a person? Is it a corporation? And how do you reach Nike? So what I did was I contacted someone who I knew from the gym, that I knew worked with Nike, and I said, I just want someone to give them, this idea. We never know where that goes. The girl was kind enough, her name is Selma Ismail. She was a Nike trainer at the time, and she was kind enough to respond to my message. And she passed on an email of Coach Tom, who's the head of coaches in the Middle East. And I put an email, very direct and blunt, and I said, this is what I look like, this is what I do. I'm a mountaineer, I'm an athlete, I'm a marathon runner, I scuba dive. Why isn't Nike featuring Muslim hijabi women in your campaigns? First of all, it's the Middle East. I'm not talking about, the global setting, but I'm just referring to the Middle East. Isn't it about time that we saw some Muslim women representation in campaigns? I went to sleep and I thought, oh my God, they're gonna think I'm a terrorist. Somebody's gonna come and arrest me. Nobody arrested me, I'm still here. Next morning, I got a response from Coach Tom, and it was just a one-liner. He's just like that, he's amazing. He just said, Manal, great idea, when can we meet? And his email did not promise nothing, but I just felt like there was hope when someone is just giving you room to express yourself. I was not trying to offend anybody. I was not trying to attack anyone. All I wanted was to bring change to the little generations to come. Went and met up with Coach Tom, and the rest was history. In January 2015, I became the first ever hijabi model to model for Nike, and I appeared in a Nike Middle East campaign. 2 months later, based on my fitness certifications that I was doing along the side of being a pharmacist, Coach Tom offered me the role of being their first ever hijabi Nike Run Club coach in the world, and I was coaching the women's only run club in Dubai. The magic did not stop there. In July 2015, I was invited as the first Arab to represent the Middle East in the Nike headquarters in Portland, in Oregon. And for me, it was a little child going to Disneyland, Like, as an athlete and you go into the Nike headquarters, that's exactly how you feel. And I thought that was it. I'm never going to get any bigger than this. But then in March 2017, to celebrate Women's Day, International Women's Day, the marketing director of Nike back at the time, his name was Roy Nasrallah, he called me and he said, Manal, I need you to come to the office because I have something that will potentially change your life. And I was like, wait, what? Are you trying to hook me up with a guy? What is that? And he said, no, it's something potentially better. Just show up, and I'm going to show you. So in March 2017, Nike had gone off and manufactured the first ever performance hijab that caters for Muslim women around the world, and Nike was going to make me the face of it on a global level. Thank you. A couple months later, like I said, and that was a breakthrough to the world. People look at it and they're like, yeah, but what's the big deal? So many companies have been manufacturing similar garments. But the big deal was that it caused rapid change around the world. I'll give you one example to finish off my talk. So up until May 2017, the FIBA, the International Federation of Basketball, used to ban Muslim basketball players from participating in championships. So little girls, 20-year-olds, would come to me and say, I'm talented, I made it to the championship, but they are not accepting me because of my hijab. Do I quit the sport or do I take off my hijab? What am I supposed to say to that? And by having Nike produce a performance garment, the FIBA lifted the ban in May 2017, and I was one of the faces to make the announcement as a PR in the PR campaign. And for me, that was a great, great, great breakthrough in the world. Just to finish off, I hope to have sparked like a little piece of hope in your hearts to reach out and never be shy to ask why when something is not going the way that you want to. And as Steve Jobs always says, that the people who think they can change the world are most of the time the ones who do. Thank you so much. Thank you.